right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you for tuning into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Chris Mueller in a matter of moments over to 93.7 The Fan Cam. And we're taking your phone calls tonight at that number right there, 412-575-2600. We're going to dive into Steelers training camp and what's going on up there. But first, we got to talk about the Battling Buccos. They blow it again, a walk-off in Cincinnati. Obviously, you blame this one on the bullpen because all the bullpen guys, it was a bullpen game. But Gregory Soto loads the bases. They can't get out of the inning in a double play. Right now, I'm tired of talking about the bullpen and how bad it is. I just want to see a plan from the Pirates right now. They're 5-8 since the All-Star break.
After he had a 7-pitch inning,
yeah.
He just breezed right through them like a hot knife through butter, but he couldn't pitch another inning. He barely threw in the 8th inning, and then you bring in Gregory Soto, who, no offense, but he's clearly at best their second best reliever, maybe third best if you count Majinski. Mason Montgomery is their dude, and he pitched so efficiently in that 8th inning. I would have set him back out there for the 9th. I said it when they did it. I thought it was a bad move. I do think Don Kelly continues to push a lot of the wrong buttons and pull a lot of the wrong levers, but surprisingly, maybe to some, I think this is about the offense and this is about the manager not making the right decisions to support his bullpen.
Yeah, they should have got after Louder. There's no question about it. But for some reason, this team's in a slump right now. I do blame it on the bullpen a little bit. I just blame it on Gregory Soto. I know they needed to score more runs, but I feel like when you get to the high leverage situations, this team is a complete failure. They need to find guys that can go out there. They need to find the guys that can throw strikes late, not walk guys. And I totally 100% agree with you keeping Mason Montgomery out there. I just don't understand, and I know it's the way of baseball, and maybe I'm too old here, and I'm thinking back to the good old days when you had relievers that could go 3 innings, and you had multiple guys like that. And now it's you pitch the 6th, you pitch the 7th, you pitch the 8th, and you can't get starters that go into the 7th for the Pirates anymore, and that's a huge problem too. I know that wasn't the issue here today. But Hunter Barco, after giving up 2 runs, he settled down a little bit, and then they got clean baseball after that.
I mean, I don't know what the fuss is about Barco. I know I've heard, and I think most people have heard, that he's a guy they really like. I don't really see it. I mean, I thought he threw 72 pitches in 3 innings of work. That's not efficient baseball. He did not impress me that much. But, Rich, I mean, what you're lamenting there are the days that are never coming back, because Kent Tekulve could come out and throw what? Maybe what was he topping out at? Maybe low 90s, if that.
Probably, if
maybe
that.
Maybe not. If that. So he's throwing from a crazy arm angle. These guys are all coming in throwing it's like a base level to be throwing 96 as a reliever now. So I just think it's a different era. Mason Montgomery should be used in all of their highest leverage situations. That's one. And then if I were going to lob another critique at the offense, I would say this. In big moments, once Lau tied the game with that home run and it was a new baseball game, they would get runners on base, and then I just thought the quality of at-bats was really poor. I thought they were chasing at pitches. They weren't swinging at the pitches that they should have been. They weren't making pitchers pay when the ball was out over the plate. I don't know how many more times I can watch Jared Triolo pop balls up or foul balls off and never really square anything up. Justinson Garcia in a big spot came up empty with the strikeout a little earlier in that game. So I didn't love the approach from their offense either once they got the game tied. And I think this has been kind of going back to the Diamondback series, sort of a recurring problem, Rich. They seem to be trying to do too much in these late game situations offensively, and it's causing them to expand the zone, to make themselves less effective, and it's working against them right now.
One hit from Reynolds, Valdez, and O'Hearn, that's not going to get it done. You got Reynolds and O'Hearn going 0 for 4. They need production from those guys. I know they hit the ball deep a couple times, but Valdez was the only one to get a hit out of those 3, and that's the middle of your lineup. And, look, I blame the bullpen. I blame Gregory Soto more than anyone. But you also got to blame the bats because they didn't put enough offense. One of the best offenses in the majors, maybe not since the All-Star break, but since the beginning of the year. And that's an issue for the Pirates right now, too, not scoring enough runs. All right, we got to take a break. We're taking your phone calls. 412-575-2600 is the number. Don't forget about our Ireland Contracting Penn West University question of the night. Do you believe in Don Kelly? Just scan that QR code when we come back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Co. I'm Rich Walsh along with Chris Mueller here tonight. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night. This is from Patrick Queen. You can show pictures of what's going on at camp, and I've been out there the first 3 days, and it's a different pace, different practice, shortened kind of practice. The length is shorter. They're practicing earlier. It seems a little more upbeat. A lot of movement, a lot of things going on. I kind of like it. I like some of the changes. You know what I can tell you, Chris, from being up there? There's a lot more excitement, and you can feel it. You can tell the way the guys are acting towards each other and even talking to me and talking to other people. A lot more excitement on offense. A lot of these guys said, hey, it's the first time they had an offensive-minded head coach, and it makes a big deal.
Well, for all of Mike Tomlin's reputation that we heard about a lot as the ultimate players coach, the guy, when they would do those anonymous player polls, who's a coach you'd want to play for, he would always win in a landslide. It certainly seems like the reality on the ground was, especially for offensive players on this franchise or in this franchise, that things had gotten very stale and that maybe guys were afraid to speak up about it because they respected Tomlin or liked Tomlin as a person, but it's pretty clear that they needed some changes, and Mike McCarthy is not exactly fresh, new, young face on the scene. He is a veteran, of course. He's very similar record and resume to Tomlin. We all know that, but they needed a breath of fresh air, whether it's from Mike McCarthy in his early 60s or would have been a guy in his late 30s, early 40s. They needed something different, and so that's probably been my single biggest takeaway, Rich, from reading your reports or seeing your reports, reading what other people are writing, hearing from people who are there just kind of on background is it's clear that things were stale. It's clear that changes were needed. And I guess it's a good thing that Tomlin decided to step aside of his own volition, because to hear the owner tell it, he would have been back this year. So it sounds like he did them a favor in the end.
And it would have been another boring offense. I don't think it's going to take long for these guys to get on the same page. The quarterback's already on the same page with Mike McCarthy, and everyone's even saying that. They know this offense. They both know this offense like the back of their hand. It's getting everyone else on the same page. I've seen some good things from Roman Wilson. And you have some issues up on the offensive line. Not really issues, but guys getting on the same page. A lot of movement. Only one guy is playing the same position as he did last year. Broderick Jones is now in the mix. And, that leads me to my next question with you before we get to the phone calls. What do you think happens with Broderick Jones this year? Do you think he has a chance at being the starting right tackle? He's not going to be the starting left tackle. I can tell you that, unless there was an injury. Is there a chance that he would compete with those guys for the starting job on the right side, or do you think he's just going to be some swing tackle this year?
So I think there's a couple scenarios that could play out. If he actually is healthy and regains his strength and gets his weight up to where he says he wants it to be, which is like the 310 to 315 range, and he looks like a man possessed. I think these are all massive ifs. These are all highly unlikely scenarios, just to be clear. Then his pedigree, I could see him holding off Ihanachour even for a little bit, or if it's Dylan Cook holding him off. And then they would either, I think, dangle him if they felt like Ihanachour in particular had come along, though, really well and was ready to step right in. They'd dangle Jones as a potential trade candidate. Or they would just let him play out the string if they think Ihanachour's raw and could use some time sitting and learning and watching. You let Jones go get paid, and then, all right, you've got somebody who's coming in cheaply, who's a second-year player who got to redshirt because he's so new to football, and then he takes over. But, I mean, Rich, in my opinion here, the likeliest scenario is the one we can probably all see in front of us, and that's that Jones was too hurt for too long and has too much ground to make up, and that it's Dylan Cook probably getting overtaken by Max Ihanachour sooner rather than later. I think the realistic prospect for Jones, if he's still on this team, is that he's the swing guy and he beats out Cook, and they just try to have too many capable players on their offensive line. But I harbor very little hope or expectation that Broderick Jones opens eyes this camp.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to cut him or release him, but maybe they put him on that short-term IR at the beginning of the year. Let's get out to the phone lines. We got Jim out in Greensburg. How you doing, Jim?
Hey, gentlemen. Quality show again, as always.
Thanks.
So can we admit, and it looks like the poll numbers are saying it, that Don Kelly, a.k.a. Lebo Boy, doesn't actually really know what he's doing, and that maybe hiring someone because of where they went to high school is a mistake?
I mean, he's barely been a manager for, what, a year. I understand we are very critical of some of the moves he's made, but I think some of the moves are dictated by the general manager, too. So I know I'm torn on this one because I always say that managers are only lose or win games 5 to 10 games a year, but it seems like maybe he's lost more than that right now just because of some of the decisions, mainly with the bullpen. But where do you stand with Donnie Kelly? I mean, obviously, when we put up a question like this, it's the majority would be no, 79% right now.
I mean, it's one of those questions that you're only putting up if people have reason to not believe in him. So I'm not exactly surprised that 79% are saying no here, Rich.
I actually believe in him. I do. He's a smart guy. He's a good baseball guy.
Nah, I don't know if I believe in him. There's some rule of headline writing that if your headline is a question, the answer to the headline is always no. But no, I mean, I can understand the frustrations more and more. I defended him a little bit earlier in the season when I thought people were being, presumptive or jumping to conclusions on him too early. But he learned at the foot of Jim Leyland. And Jim Leyland has been on our show before, and we've asked him, Jim, like I think I said even to him, Jim, I always grapple with how much impact a manager can have. Like a great manager can't turn a team with no talent into like a World Series contender. And I remember Jim basically said, like, yeah, you got to have the players. But he did point out that the one thing a manager can be good at and can develop is a feel for his bullpen. And I think Don Kelly has no feel. If the argument is that Ben Cherington and his analytics team told him, hey, Mason Montgomery's done after 7 pitches in the 8th inning, then they got to completely tear this thing down to the studs. But if it's what I think it is, which is Don Kelly just saying, well, I was going to have Soto pitch the 9th no matter what, I'm not changing from that course, then he screwed up. Here's another thing to consider, and I bet Jim and Greensburg will like this. Let's say Soto gets out of the 9th inning, and let's say the Pirates push across a run in the 10th. What was the plan for the bottom of the 10th? Was Ron Marinaccio going to come in and close this game out? Like, seriously, what was the actual plan? What did Don Kelly have in mind if they actually got through 9 innings and went to extras? Yeah, somebody's got to tell me that because I have no idea what they were going to do. That's
a good question, and it makes you think, why did they use Mason Montgomery in the 9th? I mean, that kind of answers that. I mean, then you push Gregory Soto to the 10th. I understand you have to get to the 10th, and that's the most important thing. You got to get to that area first, and they didn't do that. So it's kind of like wasting what you did. But yeah, I don't know who they would have used then. That's a good question. I
don't think he's got a feel. I don't know if he had it in his head that it was going to be Gregory Soto. I haven't heard his post-game comments, obviously. I would hope he was asked about it, but I thought it was pretty obvious that once Mason Montgomery did even better than an immaculate inning, threw 7 pitches, all strikes, and was, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, send him right back out there for the 9th. And then you do have Soto you can use in the 10th. I just thought it was completely ham-fisted bullpen management tonight. A lot of other issues that you could complain about with their offense, but the manager did them absolutely no favors in this game. And that's unfortunately become a recurring theme.
Yeah, maybe keeping their pitch count down for tomorrow or more usage this week.
Oh. Rich, they're a 500 team that's lost 3 in a row, and they're starting to see teams get pretty distant in the windshield here for the playoff race. Like, I don't think it's time to worry about Mason Montgomery's pitch count.
5-8 since the All-Star break. Those aren't good numbers, especially when you're fighting for a wild card spot here and close to the trade deadline. All right, back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Coverage. Walsh along with Chris Mueller. We don't have a lot of time here left, but if the Pirates continue this trend right now, do you trade Brandon Lau at the deadline?
I still wouldn't. I mean, unless they're like 6-7 games out and they just keep losing and somebody bowls you over with an offer, I still don't think I would do it. I mean, you could get hot at any time. I'd try to move mid-tier prospects for a couple of relievers to shore up your bullpen and assume that your team is going to get healthy and eventually break out of this little hitting slump that they've been in for about a week and a half. You're still getting Horwitz back. You're still getting Cruz back. You get those two. You float this thing till September. You get Griffin back. You're within 2 or 3 games at most, maybe 2. You got a chance. By the way, I got Donnie Kelly's reaction and why he took Mason Montgomery out. All I'll say is he's using terms like residual downstream effects on him long term if he pitches a second inning. You know what the direct effect of doing this was? You're 55 and 55, Don.
That's like load management. All right, thanks a lot, Chris. We'll see you back here next week, and hopefully we see you guys on KDK News in just a couple minutes.